Oh, and the mic for the recorder seems to be missing also. So.
Well, I don't think he's been using it.
He hasn't been using the mic?
No.
Okay.
I think it records, though.
Yeah, no, I think it is recording okay. It's just, yeah. Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is January 25th. It's the 9th of Shvat. I'm Dan Margulies. I'm filling in for Rabbi Linzer. He's unavailable this morning because one version said he had to go to a bris, another version said he had to go pay a shiva call. But either way, our thoughts and hearts are with him while he's not here, and we'll continue learning without him. We'll pick up from the last line of Tet Amud Bet, getting into the close of some of these discussions about shtar and dating and things like that, and then we're going to get into some Agadata today about the Roman Emperor Antoninus, his relationship with Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. I mentioned before I started recording, this is like know your Roman emperors. I think for certain bits of Talmudic literature, for sure, having a reasonable grasp on Roman history certainly can help us understand the political context and who are the important players. We have to remember the Roman political structure as well. We'll get to that when we get to it.
Is this Marcus Aurelius?
So Antoninus is the adoptive father of Marcus Aurelius. It will come up in the sugya. Well, Marcus Aurelius actually doesn't appear in the sugya, but the other adopted son of Antoninus does. Okay, from the last line of Tet Amud Bet. There was a shtar, there was a legal contract that was written with the date 6 years, seemingly 6 years in the future from the time that it was being examined by the court. So So the rabbis who were in the presence of Rabbah, who were assessing this case, thought that it was a post-dated shtar. It was written with the date 6 years in advance so that the liens couldn't be collected until 6 years from now. So they said, Niakve, ademate zimne. We should just hold it back. We should restrict the use of the shtar to extract the debt until the time comes. Velo tarif, and not to collect on it. So Rav Nachman says back, Hi, Safra Dukina Katve. It was a skilled scribe. It was an elder of the scribes who wrote this. That is, he knew what he was doing. He had a particular reason for it. It wasn't written as a post-dated shtar. It's actually written as a shtar for now. These 6 years, that's the 6 years when the Macedonian, the Greek Empire ruled over Elam. Elam is somewhere in the Mesopotamia region. So when we count our minyan shtarot, usually our dating for documents, we don't use those extra 6 years. We count from 6 years later in the rule of Alexander the Great, when his empire was really fully established. But this scribe decided to include those 6 years. So it has nothing to do with it being a post-dated shtar. It was just a different dating system.
Yesterday, yes. Rabbi Linzer suggested we actually are not dating from Alexander, but from when the Seleucid.
Seleucid Empire, right? So it's a little bit after Alexander, right? And it comes up in our sugya as well. There's a suggestion we're going to see the next sugya, suggestion that the dating is actually from 1,000 years after Yetziat Mitzrayim. And that's the question: are we using a foreign date or are we using a Jewish date? I know that I think it's Rabbi Yaakov Meidan at Yeshivat Har Etzion has like a certain pet topic of his that he likes pushing, counting the number of years since Yetziat Mitzrayim. Certainly that's how they counted the years in Tanakh. We see in references in Book of Shmuel and places like that. Okay, so these are the 6 years that the Greeks ruled in Elam. So this scribe who wrote this shtar decided to count the years from 6 years earlier than we do. So who kachashivle, he counts those years. And the shtar is written in its own time. It's written for right now. If you remember back, I think it's one of the first more broadly applicable sugyot in Gittin. I think it's around Gittin Daf Yud Zayin or so. There's the whole discussion about writing a shtar meuchar, writing a shtar mukdam, which kind of post-dated and predated shtarot are disqualified or are okay to use. Obviously, a predated star would be invalid because what you're doing is you're retroactively claiming that the liens are in place earlier than they are. And what that does is it undermines the ability of previously existing debtor claimants to claim property. So that discussion is there in the first chapter of Gittin. Okay, Ditan Rabbi Yossi Omer Sheish Shanim Malchu Beilam. Rabbi Yossi says that the Greeks ruled for 6 years in Elam, v'achar kach pashta malchutan b'chol ha'olam kulo. And then their rule spread out over the entire world. We know that the Macedonian Greeks, I guess they're not Macedonian, they're just Greeks. They're from Macedonia, but that's it. So the Greeks under Alexander and then under his heirs fought many wars against the Persians, against the various other Eastern empires. That meant that at what point do you claim that their rule began? You have to pick some arbitrary point because they were fighting many lengthy wars. So here's a debate. Did they count those 6 years or not? Okay. We see the next sugya is going to be about Yetziat Mitzrayim. Matkif la Rav Acha bar Yaakov. Mimai de Malchut Yavanim meninan. Dil Yetziat Mitzrayim meninan. Maybe we do not count from the time of the Greeks, from the Greek empires, but rather from Yetziat Mitzrayim. Veshav Kela Alpha Kama Benakte.
What kind of question? Meaning, like, are we trying to say that this is what the convention should be, or like
the convention?
What the convention is.
We know the year, the number of the date. The question is, right? How do we conceptualize the number of the year? For example, in the United States, the Gregorian year, right, it's 2018.
Right.
So some people say it's 2018 AD because they count according to the birth of Jesus. And some people say it's 2018 CE of the Common Era because the conventional dating happens to be that it's 2018. So we try to remove the Christological significance of that date. As Jews, we prefer a more secularized version of the same year. It's something similar, which is when we say this year is 500 Liminyan Shtaros or 800 Liminyan Shtaros or whatever. Are we counting and saying it's 500 years since the Seleucid dynasty, or are we saying it's 1500 years since Yetziat Mitzrayim?
You say it's a different year. You say 500.
Well, but so that's what the question, because they say right. So the question, but the question is, maybe for convenience they left off the thousands place because they would just count the hundreds, right? When we say the year is Taf Shin Ayin Chet, we're not saying it's 578. We're saying it's 5,000, 778, but we're saying it's 5,778. We ignore the thousands place because the thousands place only changes once every 1,000 years. Even the hundredth place, you might not have to, but sometimes you have to keep track hundreds. Something happened 100 years ago is in more recent memory. So that's partly what this question is. So my
question is, like, I don't know if we're going to address this. We always get so worked up about a Chodesh Zedachem, Rosh Chodeshim. Can you say one, whatever? No, maybe because we should really
to refer to the secular months by numbers. I've heard some people who are not to do
what we're doing is but if we say, but we seem to have no problem with not having a conventional year. Like we're doing it by the Greek. Whatever, like who cares?
The point of the
is
year,
there any religious problem with that? Like it seems to not be discussed at all. Whereas
the passage of years is always a relative count. The things we care about in terms of the passage of years are how long did a king reign for, Shemitah, Yovel, those sorts of things. We don't care about an absolute time point in the count of years until you get either Kabbalistic significance for it or you get people who try to date Libriat Ha'olam, which seems not to have been the convention at all in the medieval period, even for many of the medieval rabbis either. For some, it was. So you get whole discussion that obviously nowadays it's become conventional across most Jewish communities to use, and even there we say Leminyan Sha'anu Monim Kan.
Right. Is there any problem with that by saying
a conventional assessment for what is? So if you would want to put in a star, it's 2018 Leminyan Shanu Monim Khan. I don't think it would be a problem either. Meaning, because you'd say that's the conventional year that we use now. There's no absolute meaning to the number of years. Just the months are important, and which year it is important, and we should know how many years have passed since some previous event. But I don't think there is an absolute significance to the number of years. Obviously, in terms of the Gemaras we saw at the end of Sanhedrin, thinking about, there's 2,000 years for Torah and 2,000 years for Mashiach and these kind of things. So right, it comes up here as well. So there's some significance to be attributed to those years, and even there, those seem more typological and more abstract.
Not halachic, and then maybe the halachic issue would say you say from the birth of Jesus.
We shouldn't be counting from the birth of Jesus explicitly, and even there, of all things,
say Sfirat HaNotzrim.
Sfirat HaNotzrim, right? We don't even say right. So,
This is also the Muslim.
okay, so let's get back into our sugya. Okay, so Matkif la Rav Acha bar Yaakov. So Rav Acha bar Yaakov challenged the whole assumption, implicit assumption, that we should be counting by Malchut Yevanim. Mimad Malchut Yevanim Manina, and why are we counting, or is it really true that we're counting from the Greek years? Dilma Yitzias Mitzrayim Menina. Maybe we're counting from Yitziat Mitzrayim V'Shav Kela Alpha Kama V'Naktei. V'Naktei Alpha Batra. So we took off the first 1,000 years. So other interesting thing about this is that the basic assumption is that we could date back that it's either exactly or close to exactly 1,000 years from Yetziat Mitzrayim to the Seleucid Empire, which is more or less right. Yetziat Mitzrayim seems to have taken place in the 14th century BCE.
Was it 14?
13 something, 1330, 1312, I've heard, things like that. So somewhere around then, but it becomes helpful for thinking about when were David and Shlomo, and we have archaeological evidence from Beit Rishon in Israel, which is obviously helps corroborate some of those timelines. Okay, so then we're going to say that if it's that it's a shtar meuchar, because meaning if you're not giving the complete year, you've left off 1,000 years. So then if you're going to mention, right, depending on how the shtar is written, it could be ambiguous whether it was from now or for 1,000 years from now. Okay. So Amar Rav Nachman, Begola ein monin l'malcha Yevanim bilvad. No, in Galut, outside of the land of Israel, certainly the thing that we're counting from is from Malchut Yevanim. We count from the Greek empires. So hu savar dichui kamidachile. He says that dichui kamidachile, like that we're pushing it off, meaning.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't think Rav Nachman's answer was a real answer.
Right, he thought it was a bad answer. So he says, "Nafakdak ashkach v'ashkach." So he went out and chased after him and tried to clarify the point. Did Tanya begola ein monim l'malcha Yevanim bilvad? So he said, is it really true that this Braita teaches that we only count according to the Greek years? Amaravina matnita nami dika ditznan, and even from the Mishnah you could infer this. We'll often see things like this. There's a Braita that says something explicitly, and there is a Mishnah that says it implicitly. That was the great skill of Ilfa. If we remember, the Gemara compares the prowess of Rabbi Yochanan and Ilfa. And Ilfa was maybe even greater than Rabbi Yochanan, but he decided to leave the Beit Midrash. But every time they would quote him a Braita, he could say, tell me the Braita, I'll tell you where it is in the Mishnah, implicitly. And Rav Reuven Margolios, in his introduction to his Margolios Hayam on Sanhedrin, has a beautiful discussion there of the character of Ilfa and how, that Ilfa had to go earn a living and he left the Beit Midrash and to not, balancing work and Torah study. Okay.
It's interesting
that
it says in the diaspora we count according to the Greeks. It's like taking on the conqueror's framework. Once you're now in the diaspora, you're outside of your land.
If you're in Israel, there's more of a fidelity to our government, our system, our history, our culture. If we're in Gola, the reality is that we're surrounded by a culture which is not our own.
But wasn't it the Romans by that time? So why don't they do it based on the Romans? So
because even the Romans were, we're going to see here, the next part of the Sugya is going to begin with a description of how the Romans basically stole everything from the Greeks. They have their Greek alphabet and Greek language. The Hellenistic culture, especially in the Eastern Mediterranean, was primarily still a Greek culture, not a Latin culture. There's a whole discussion of translation. How much did the Roman Empire use Greek as a lingua franca and not Latin? And Latin was only for bureaucratic things. And so there's a lot of sense that the Greek influence was still very pervasive, even for hundreds of years after the collapse of the Greek empires. Okay, so it says the Mishnah. So Amar Rabina Matniti Nami Dika Diktan. The Mishnah says, Be'echad b'Nisan Rosh Hashanah le'Melachim le'Regalim. So the Mishnah says that Nisan is Rosh Hashanah for kings and for holidays. But Amrina l'Melachim. So it sounds like we should count the rule of kings. How many years have passed for the rule of a king from Nisan, not from Tishrei? Lemai hilchata. So what halacha does this come to teach? Amar Rav Chizda l'shtarot. It comes to teach that when we count for shtarot as well, the year should advance 1 year at Rosh Chodesh Nisan. But the same Mishnah says that Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah for years and for Shemitah years. Amrinan Lishanim. It sounds like it says for years. So what does that teach? So it sounds like that should count for shtarot. And Rav Chizda is the one saying both. Rav Chizda interpreted two different clauses in the same Mishnah, perhaps at different times, referring to the same thing. So we have a problem. So kashya shtarot ahadadeh. So the two teachings about shtarot contradict. Umeshaninan kan l'malchei Yisrael kan l'malchei Avoda-Zara-10. The difference is that Jewish kings count their rule from years from Nisan, and non-Jewish kings will count their rule from Tishrei. That's sort of a general sense that we have already from last week's parasha, and we talked about this a lot at Rosh Hashanah time, that the Jewish year starts in Nisan, but a universal human year starts in Tishrei. Tishrei is when we Briat HaOlam, and the Jewish people were created as a nation in Nisan, things like that. So that's a distinction. Of course, it gets complicated when you're trying to say what year is it, or how many years did such and such king reign, and you count even 1 month as a full year when it was before Rosh Hashanah and things like that. It gets a little bit tricky.
So I'm sorry. So what would they do in a star? They'd say whatever it is, 400 years since the Greek whatever, which is the 10th year of King Ashurbanipal. Like, what do they do? In other words, they say both all these years.
Probably one or the other. Maybe you would have both. I'm not sure.
In Israel in modern time, you will say, whatever it is today, Tet B'Shvat, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
25th of January.
No,
Right.
That's not my question. My question is,
the question is in a historical star. Frankly, from what I understand, from what I've seen of archaeological finds of business contracts, the dating is often not so precise necessarily. It may have the day of the month, but not necessarily the year. Or if it has a year, it would be counted either according to the king or according to the whatever.
No, because here we just went on by saying
we're trying to establish a convention. We're trying to establish a convention, but the fact is that maybe there wasn't such a rigid convention. I'm sure there are other people who know much more about this.
The past month and a half, daf and a half, we've been saying that it's for the start of the Seleucid dynasty. So,
yeah.
But now we're saying it's the kings.
No, so meaning that, but that's the kings. That counting according to the kings is counting according, in this case, to the Seleucid dynasty. We're saying we count Ovdei Kochavim. Malchei Ovdei Kochavim means Minyan Shtaros, means Malchei Yavanim. That's what we mean.
But so they're not saying that
we're not going to actually say it's the third year of the reign of Antoninus. We're not going to say that. We're just going to say it's 500 years since Minyan Shtaros. Yeah. It becomes sort of a rigid convention because it's easier. Especially if you have Jews living in a Persian Empire and in a Roman Empire, it gets confusing if the whole Jewish people can't have a unified calendrical system. So that helps. Okay. Fine. So for non-Jewish kings, we count from Tishrei and Malchei Yisrael Minisan Meninan, and for Jewish kings, we count from Nisan. Nowadays, meaning now that we're using Minyan Shtaros, the count from the Seleucid dynasty, we count from Tishrei. If you would say that we're counting from Yitzias Mitzrayim, you, Rav Acha Bar Yaakov, then we should have to count from Nisan, because that's a Jewish count, so it should restart in Nisan. So the conclusion of this whole discussion is that we count according to the number of years since the Seleucid dynasty. What?
The Goyish system.
The Goyish system, more or less, which is interesting to consider that now I think most Jewish shtaros that we have, again, ketubah, all sorts of things, won't use Minyan Shtaros anymore. We use Minyan Brias HaOlam. The convention, I don't think they do both. Certainly not in a ketubah. Though I have seen some ketubot that still would do Minyan Shtaros, but it's an interesting point.
So why did we change?
Why did we change? Because at some point after 1,500 years, 2,000 years since the Seleucids, people said, why are we doing this anymore? There hasn't been a Seleucid dynasty. So they changed a convention, whatever. Possibly because of a Kabbalistic sort of influence and interest in when the world was created, especially around the beginning of the 6th millennium of the Minyan Briat HaOlam, which is around the year, let's do quick math in our heads. Right, it's roughly what was in 1240 1240, 1241. So around that time, there was a Kabbalistic fervor around the change of the millennium. So that may have brought out the beginning of the use of the Minyan Briat HaOlam. I'm not sure the history about that. Okay.
But, but you're saying that we haven't adopted.
We have a lot of Agadah today. So what, you have a quick question?
So saying that in our standard Ketubot and Gittin, that I haven't seen Gittin, so no one does typically the 2018, whatever it is.
I don't think they do 2018 at all. If they would do anything, they would do Briat HaOlam and Minyan Shtarot, I think. You can't ask me on Gittin. I also don't know that so well. Okay. Yom Ginusia Shel Malchehem. So, Yom Ginusia Shel Malchehem. What is this Yom Ginusia? So, Amar Rav Yehuda. Yom Shema'amidim Bo V'dei Kochavim et Malkam. It's the coronation day. What? Inauguration day, coronation day of the new king. It's important to note, in the Roman Empire, the Caesar was not exactly what we would consider a dynastic, hereditary king type of ruler. The emperor was officially appointed by the Senate until the Senate was dissolved, but at this period, and so there was a whole sense that right, it's ma'amidim bo ovdei kochavim et malkam, that there is some sort of an electoral process by which the nation picks the king, which is actually very interesting. Okay. So doesn't it, but we have a brisa that lists both of those as two separate events. One is a reference to the king himself, and one is the coronation day of the son. That is, while the king is still alive, they could have a coronation day to name the son as the prince regent or something like that, that he'll be the heir apparent, and they would have a coronation for that as well. Is it really true that the Romans would ever appoint a king, the son of a king? That is because it was this electoral process, and because there was so much political infighting in the Roman Empire, it was rare that the Caesar would be the son of the previous Caesar. Rabbi Yosef, there's a prophecy in Ovadia. Ovadia, we know, is a reference to the kingdom of Edom, which in Chazal is certainly understood to be the Roman Empire. And the prophecy says that God says, I have made you the smallest among the nations. That is, Rome obviously was a very great nation, populous, and in terms of the extent of their empire, but in other ways, they're meant to be seen as very small. She'ein moshivin melech ben melech. One of the ways in which they're considered to be a weak nation is that they were never able to establish a dynastic rule of kings. Each Caesar was appointed independently.
So, of course, because of our pasuk, which we choose to interpret this way, means that in practice they never did.
It must mean that they, well, we're going to see it's rejected. So, but further, so what does the pasuk mean? You're very denigrated because they don't have their own alphabet. They stole the alphabet from the Greeks. And they don't even really have their own language because they used Greek as their lingua franca, especially in the Eastern Empire.
Clearly, they had their own language.
Clearly, they had their own language. The alphabet was very similar to the Greek alphabet.
Is that true?
Yeah, we know that.
We have Roman numerals. I thought.
But they got the alphabet is mostly borrowed from the Greek alphabet. Not all of it, but most of it. But there was a lot of overlap, meaning the Romans, to be cultured in Rome was to study Greek philosophy and Greek literature and Greek plays and things like that. So
maybe. I was going to say like American England, whatever. Like there's examples in history
of a conquering nation, and then you absorb their culture and their It's part. I mean, that was part of the success of Rome. Is they said we're the great military power. We have a great bureaucratic governmental power, but they recognized or they felt an inferiority complex to the Greeks who had preceded them in terms of music and art and philosophy and literature and things like that. Okay, Elamai Yom Genusia. So what is Yom Genusia? Yom HaLeida. It's the birthday, the king's birthday. Okay, so Vahatanya, but we have a brisa that says Yom Genusia veYom HaLeida. That references both the Yom HaGenusia and the birthday. Lakashya hadidei ha-dibrei. No, one is a reference to the king and one is a reference to the king's son. King makes a big birthday for his son. We know there are other Mishnayot that reference the day that the first shaving day. The Romans made a very big deal for a young man.
Upshearing.
Something like an upshearing, probably around age of 12 or 13. Also, just important to note, who is the only character in the Torah to celebrate a birthday? Yom Huledet at Paro. So it's a good birthday wishes to whomever has their birthday today.
Okay.
Exactly. Well, that's why we don't make such a big deal of birthdays in Judaism. Okay.
We have something called the bar mitzvah.
Yeah, something else. Okay. Yom Ginusia Shelo Yom Ginusia Shel Beno. So, but we have another brisa that references both the Yom Genusia of the king and of his son, Veyom Haleda Shelo, Veyom Haleda Shel Beno, and the birthday, the king's birthday and the prince's birthday. So it doesn't seem like that's the correct interpretation. Elamai Yom Genusia. We go back to our first attempt. What does it mean, Yom Genusia? Yom Shemim Amidim Bo Malkam. It's the coronation day. V'lakashya Hadidei v'Hadibrei. And there's no contradiction that it mentions both Yom Amidim Bo Malkam and Yom Genusia, because one is the day of the king coronation and one is the day of the prince regent's coronation. If you're going to ask me about the fact that the Romans never appoint as a king the son of the king, if the emperor makes the request that his son fill his role, then they could. And now we're going to have stories from Antoninus talking with Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, because the first example is Kegon, Asvirus bar Antoninus. This is so after the death of Antoninus Pius, there were his two adopted sons, Marcus Aurelius and Lucius Verus, ruled as co-emperor, and then Verus died, and then Marcus Aurelius ruled as emperor alone. So Asvirus bar Antoninus, there was like a special request that Antoninus had to make that his other son would get to join Marcus Aurelius. Presumably, there's an assumption Marcus Aurelius was more capable or more qualified for that job in some way. I don't know exactly. So that's who we're talking about. So Demalach. So because he became the emperor. So Amar le Antoninus le Rebbe. Antoninus said to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Ba'ina de yimloch Asvirus bri atachtai. I want my son Asvirus to be the king after me. Vetit ave Tiberia colonia, and that Tiberia should be given a remission on its taxes. The problem is, if I ask the Senate to do one of those two things, they'll do it for me. Trey lo avdi, but they're not going to do both for me. So he says, Rebbe, I really want to give you a break in your taxes, but I really want my son to be the emperor after me. So I have to pick. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is much smarter than Antoninus. So Aiti Gavra Arkave Chavre. He brought before him a person riding a piggyback ride on somebody else's shoulders. V'yahiv le'yona le'Eli. He put a dove into the hands of the one sitting on top, bidei, into his hands. But Amar le'tata, Emar le'Eli l'mifrach. He told the lower one to tell the upper one to let the bird fly out of his minyade, from his hands. Minyade yona. Amar shemamina hachi kamarli. So this Antoninus inferred from this that what Rebbe was telling him is, so ad bai minai hu de Asvirus bri imloch tachtai. I should ask the Senate to appoint Asvirus, my son, as the emperor. Ve'ema leila Asvirus de tave Tiberia colonia. And then you should request from your son, once he's been made the emperor in your place, that he should give a tax remission to Tiberia. Okay, David, you got a question?
Yeah, there's a note here from the Ros Harishonim. It says they identify Antoninus as the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antoninus. He ruled from 161 to 180 BC, and in the course of the travels, he met Rebbe. They had a long friendship.
Okay, so I'm not sure.
They're conflating the two words. They're Marcus Aurelius Antoninus.
But so he took his father's name as a patronymic.
Oh, I see what you're saying. He was the son of Antoninus.
He was the adopted son of Antoninus.
But he was Marcus Aurelius.
I'm not sure. Between the dating, it gets a little complicated. I think Antoninus Pius was emperor until like 150 or something like that. So he could have been friends with Rebbe as a young man. I don't know. I don't know who was when. Obviously, I don't know factually, historically, from the Roman perspective, if any of this ever happened. Our tradition tells us that it happened. So I don't know. Sometimes when you get down to the details, which king was which, it's hard to pin down. Okay. So another story. Amarle, Mitzari Lilia Chashuve Romai. The dignitaries of Rome are giving me a hard time. Ma'aya le legina. He went to the garden. Kol yoma akar le pugla mimashra. Mimashra kame. He took up a pulga. Is a radish? He plucked a radish every day. So Amar Shemamina, he said to himself, Hachi Kamarli. It's like what Rebbe is telling me. At Ketol Chad Chad Minayu. Velotit Gar Behu Bekulu. Kill them off one at a time. The people who are giving you a hard time, don't kill them all at once, because then they're going to overreact and there's going to be some kind of a revolt. Okay. V'leima, we're flipping the daf on the pit. V'leima le meimar behadei. So why couldn't Rebbe have just told Antoninus that in public? So Amar Shemai bechashuvi Romi umitzarule. He said to himself, "Oh, if the Roman dignitaries hear about this, they're going to give me a hard time." But leimelei balacha, she could have whispered it to him. Mishum diktiv ki of hashamayim yolichet hakol. We have a pasuk from Kohelet that even when you whisper something, sometimes the secret can get out. So you have to say something in a coded message or in an obscured way, so that to prevent rumors from getting out. As Benjamin Franklin said, 3 can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. It's very difficult. Once you tell one person, you don't know what's going to be the future of your. But even for Shnaim, meaning even Shnaim could be difficult.
So it depends who you're telling.
That depends. You're talking with
2 people, it's a secret of the heart. 3 people, it's a secret of the streets.
Right.
But it rhymes.
Right. So at least here we're suspicious. Even one person telling another person something, especially something with a political intrigue going on. The birds are going to spread the news. Who knows, right? Parrots can repeat things that they overhear in the kitchen all the time, right? So havele hahubarta dishamagira kaavda isura. So Antoninus had a daughter who was doing isurim. It sounds like the reference here is that she was sexually promiscuous or something like that. Shadar le gargira. So he sent to him a gargira. Gargira is some kind of like a wild mustard plant, but it's like a pun on the word gira. So shadarle kusbarta. He sent him back kusbarta. Kusbarta is cabbages or something.
No, kusbara, at least now. Sorry, kusbara is not parsley.
Cilantro, coriander. Yeah, right. Kusbarta, right. So he sent back, but it's a pun because kosparta is like kill your daughter, basically. So Shadar Le Karti, he sent him leeks, like to say like Karti, like I'm gonna cut her off, like karat, like I'll cut off her head. Shalach Le Chasa, he sent him back lettuce to say Chasa, like no, you should forgive her. Like so, there's some kind of a coded lachus, like to have compassion on her, some kind of a strange back and forth between Antoninus and Rebbe. They're just sending each other vegetables, but they understand it as a message. Now, this is like that old joke, right? About the rabbi and the priest are having the silent debate, and the priest takes the apple and he goes like this, and he point right. All of those things, so when you're having when you have a coded conversation, but if you interpret the code in 2 different ways, who knows what Antoninus thought Rebbe and he were exchanging vegetables. They're just sending each other their lunch. I don't know. So at least from our perspective, it sounds like it makes sense. Okay. Kol yom hava shader le dahava paricha bimetrata. I'm going to get the English to help with this 1 second. Some of these I got to tell are a little bit challenging.
Crushed gold in leather
right.
sack.
Well, I just wanted to get the book. It's just going to make it much smoother for me to finish everything in the correct time. 1 second. Okay. Fine. Okay. Kol yom hava shader le dahava paricha b'matrata v'chite afumayu. He would send him, that is Antoninus, would send to Rebbe a bag of gold, like in powders, in granules, so it would be like the texture of wheat kernels, but he put wheat on the top to cover up the top so that anybody who opened up the bag would think it was just wheat, it wasn't a bag of gold. Obviously, gold is much denser than wheat, so it would be very difficult to imagine how anyone lifting this would not think that it was very heavy, that it was something was strange going on, but whatever, in a bag. Amarlu, he said, bring the wheat to Rebbe. So Amarle Rebbe said back to him, Latzrichna, I don't need it. Why are you sending me all this money? Itli Tuva, I have plenty of money. I'm rich enough, right? Like Yaakov and Esav, right? Of course, this is Yaakov and Esav again. Esav sends back and he says, Yeshli Rav, and he says, Yeshli Kol, right? So this is the same kind of dynamic. So Amar, Lehevu Leman Divatrach, Diheveli Batrai, Da'atu Batrach. You should have the gold now so that the people who come after you will be able to pay off the people who come after me. Basically. Okay. And the people who come after you will be able to pay the taxes using this money. Okay. So there was a tunnel going from Antoninus's house to Rebbe's house. Now, if Antoninus was living in Rome, it seems like a very long tunnel. Maybe it means that Antoninus had a governor's palace or something in Jerusalem. I don't know, or in Tiberia. I don't know exactly. Rebbe was living in Tiberia, so I don't. So I don't know. It could still be a long tunnel. Who knows? A magic tunnel. I don't know. Okay.
They suggest it so that you could study Torah.
You could study Torah. At least they had a good friendship. I don't know whether Antoninus was studying Torah, but they were at least talking politics. Okay. Every day he would bring 2 slaves with him. One he would kill at the doorway to Rebbe's house. One he would kill at the doorway of his own house, meaning he would bring the 2 slaves to escort him along the way, but then he had to kill them so that they wouldn't reveal the secret that he was going to learn with Rebbe. So Amar Le, ba'idana de'etena lo nishkach gevar kamach. He said, when I come visit you, there shouldn't be anyone else here because I wanted to stay a secret. So
Isn't there a story like the Egyptian pharaohs would kill the designers of the pyramid, so nobody would know,
something like that, right? There's a sense of security, right? Obviously, if every day you're killing off your bodyguard, you have to wonder who's going to want the job eventually, right?
It might not have been a free choice.
It was certainly was not. They're avadim, right? They're slaves. So, but that's part of and also we're sort of getting into the mindset of Antoninus a little bit, like what how does he think his daughter has a bad reputation? He's going to kill her, right? All of these little pieces of the story. Right, he kills off all of his slaves, so he's still being portrayed as this gruff, crude Roman character, Machiavellian kind of a character. But Rebbe still has a good relationship with him, either because it's good for the Jews or for some other reason. I don't know. Okay, so Yom Echad.
Marcus Aurelius was a great philosopher as well.
Yeah, he was, right. So I'm not sure if it was Marcus Aurelius or whether this is Antoninus Pius. I don't know. If it was Marcus Aurelius, there maybe would be more of a reason why he would want to talk philosophy with Rebbe or something. I don't know. Yom Echad Ashkechei Rabbi Chanina bar Chama de'Habiyativ. One day when Antoninus came to visit, he noticed that Rabbi Chanina bar Chama was there visiting with Rebbe as well. But he had told him, I don't want anybody here when I come to visit. Amar la minalach ba'idana da'atana lo nishkach gevar kamach. Didn't I tell you that when I come to visit, there shouldn't be any people here? Amar le, late Dain barinish. He's not a human being. Meaning, really, he's like an angel. He's he's non-human. He's so perfect. He's such an amazing student. So Amar le, eimele, so Antoninus told Rabbi Chama bar Chama, go tell the slave at the doorway that he should come, that he should wake up, like as if he was sleeping, though he had killed him. So Azar Rabbi Chanina bar Chama ashkachei dehave katil. He found him that he was dead. So Amar, heichi yavid. Now what was it? That Antoninus was trying to communicate something to him. Either A, like, watch out, I'm going to kill you because I don't want anybody to know the secret. So now he's worried. So what does he say? What should I do? If I go and tell him, oh, he's been killed, you're not supposed to report bad news to people. But because he doesn't know that he had killed him himself. Should I just leave? That's going to be seen as disrespectful to the king. He davened. So then he prayed to bring back the slave to life. Amar Yadana Zudi di'itbachu mechayim eitim. So Antoninus said, wow, even the least among your students is able to do mechayim eitim, is about to bring the dead back to life. Mihu be'idana de'etana lo nishkach kamach. But still, I don't want anybody here visiting with you next time I come to visit. That is great. Rabbi Chanina bar Chama is a powerful rabbi. He has magic powers, but I don't want people to know about our secret. Okay. Kol yom ha'ave mishamish l'Rebbe. Every day, Antoninus would bring food for Rebbe. He was mishamesh. He was like the waiter. Again, it's portraying who is in the power in this relationship. Antoninus is the student of Rebbe. He's serving him. He's taking care of him. So ma'achile, he would bring him food. Mashkele, and he would bring him something to drink. Ki have by Rebbe lemesak lepuria. When Rebbe would go into his bed, Havegachin kamepuria. He would bow in front of the bed as a step to provide a step for Rebbe to step into his bed. In the Gemara in Kiddushin, we see examples of children doing this to help their parents into bed, which is seen as a great kibud aveim. So this is the same way, and this is showing a great kavod to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi.
There's a story also in Megillah. I don't know what it's in Midrash or whatever, but that he steps on Haman's head to.
Right, the Mordechai, all the things, the Mordechai getting advanced and Haman getting pushed back.
Yeah.
Right, so it's similar. It's very much but it's a respectful way. It's a person showing a lot of care in the service of the person that they're helping into bed. Amarle, Saki Lavai Lepuriyach. So he said, climb on me to get into your bed. So Amar, Lavorach Arle Zalzuli b'malchute kulehai. And Rebbe said, I'm not going to stand on you because you're the Roman emperor. I can't step on you. You're the king. It's not appropriate to show disrespect to the king. Amar, mi yasimeni matzah taftecha leolam haba. I hope and pray that in Olam Haba, I will be your mattress. That is, that I would be of such a level to serve you in Olam Haba. Obviously, the image of one person making themselves like the mattress is very graphic sense of how much they are lowering themselves in comparison to the other person. So Amar Le, Atena Alma Date, will I be able to enter Olam Haba? So now he said, I hope to be your mattress in Olam Haba, but now he says, am I ever going to be able to get into Olam Haba? Amar Le, he said back to him, he said, yes, you will. Amar Le, the Haktiv Lo Yeh Sarid Levet Esav, doesn't the pasuk from Ovadia say that there will be no remnant for Beit Esav in Olam Haba, but Useh Maaseh Esav. No, Rebbe says that only applies to someone who acts like Esav. And you, Antoninus, you've shown yourself to be courteous, you love Torah, you support the Jews, whatever it is, you don't do Maaseh Esav. So Tani Nami Hachi, we have a similar brisa. Lo Yeh Sarid Levet Esav. The pasuk says there will be no remnants for Beit Esav. Yachol Lakol. Could it apply to all of the Romans? Talmud Lamar Levet Esav be'oseh Maaseh Esav. It only applies to those who actually do the actions of Esav. Amar le v'haktiv shama Edom melacheha v'chol nisieha. But doesn't a pasuk from Yechezkel, it says that there will be a destruction for Edom, for its kings and for all of its princes. Amar le melacheha v'lo kol melacheha. It says its kings, but not all the kings. Kol nisieha v'lo kol sareha. All of the princes, but not every single one of the officers. Okay, so that is some of them will still be able to go into Olam Haba. Tanya namihachi melacheha, its kings v'lo kol melacheha. Its kings, but not all of its kings. Kol nisiyeha v'lo kol sareha. So melacheha, its kings v'lo kol melacheha, and not all of the kings. Prat l'Antoninus bar Asverus. That refers specifically to Antoninus, who was served Rebbe. Kol nesieha v'lo kol sareha, all of the princes, but not every single one of the officers. Parat leKitia bar Shalom. It's a reference to Kitia bar Shalom. So we're gonna have to find out who is Kitia bar Shalom. So Kitia bar Shalom, what is the story of Kitia bar Shalom? Dahu Kesara the Sanili who died. There was a Roman emperor who hated the Jews. Amar luha chashive de malchuta. He told the powerful people in his empire, Mi sha'alalo nima biraglo. Whoever has like an ulcer, like an injury, a wound on his foot. Should he cut it off and it would heal, or should he leave it there and be in pain? Amrulo, he should cut it off and let it heal. That is, so he said, Amar lehu kitia bar. So the implication is that the Jewish people are like a festering wound on the Roman Empire, and the emperor wants to cut off the Jewish people so that they should be allowed, that the empire would be allowed to thrive in the absence of the Jews. There are a lot of obviously foreshadowings here of many other incidents of anti-Semitism. The sense that the Jewish people are sucking the life out of the country we live in, or something like that. This is a trope that goes back thousands of years. The Amar Lahu Kitia bar Shalom. Kitia bar Shalom made a suggestion to the king. First of all, you can't kill all of them. Because first, the pasuk from Zechariah says that God has spread us out with the four winds. My kamar. What is that saying? Does it mean that God has scattered us to the four directions? Hi, ke'ar barucho. That would be if the pasuk said, the pasuk says ke'arba ruchot, like the four winds, not le'arba ruchot, not into the four directions. Ella keshem she'iyafshar la'olam below ruchot, just like the world can't exist without the wind. Kach iyafshar la'olam below Yisrael, the world cannot survive without the Jewish people. V'od karulach malchuta kitia, and in the future they will call your empire a cut off empire. Because if you cut off the Jews, like you're cutting off this ulcer, then there will be a cut off empire. Also, of course, the name Ketia Bar Shalom is a play on that as well. We find many times in the Gemara that people have a name is an allusion to one of their more famous teachings. There's a debate among some of the scholars. Is it that they were named after their popular teachings, or did they develop their certain popular teachings based off of their names as a kind of mnemonic, a little vort? It's always good to have a vort about your own name, I guess. Okay, so Amarle, the emperor said to Ketia Bar Shalom, Meimar Shapir Karmarta. You said very well. That is, you warned me against this. Me who called is Achimalcha Shadulei Lekamonia Chalila. But anyone who disagrees with the king has to be thrown into an empty house. Or here they say Kamonia Chalila, a house full of ashes. I don't know where they get the ashes part. That from Rashi? Yeah, from Rashi. That they had it's some kind of punishment. Rabbeinu Hananel says that it's a furnace to be burned. That is, they're going to punish you, they're going to kill you, they're going to punish you for disagreeing with the king. So when they were taking Ketia Bar Shalom and taking him to be killed, Amr Lehahi Matronita, a wealthy Roman woman said, woe to the one to the ship that tries to cross the border without paying the customs duty, without paying the tax. So Nafala Reishi Da'arlate Kita. So he bent over to his foreskin and he cut it off. Also the name Ketia Bar Shalom, Ketia, to be cut off. So again, there are allusions to the name there as well. That is, he is some Roman guy. He disagreed with the emperor. He tried to defend the Jewish people. The Roman emperor rejected his appeal and he's going to be executed. He says, let me at least go into death, trying in some way to have shown my commitment to protect the Jewish people. So he cut off his foreskin as a sign, somehow a sign of his desire to convert to Judaism. Amar Yahavit Michsi Khalifa Vabarit. He said, I gave my tax, so let me exchange it and enter in. That is, he wants to go into Olam Haba. Ki kashadule, and when he was being taken to be killed, Amar Kol Nichsai le Rabbi Akiva v'chavirav. All of my property should be given to Rabbi Akiva and his colleagues. Yatsa Rabbi Akiva v'darash. Rabbi Akiva came out and made a drasha. He said, "V'haya le'aharon u'levanav." When it says about the korbanos, or about the truma of the lechem hapanim, it says mechza laharon umechza lebanav. Half goes to Aharon and half goes to all of the other kohanim. Therefore, Rabbi Akiva himself is claiming for himself half of the inheritance, because it says Rabbi Akiva v'chavirav. So it should go half to Rabbi Akiva and half to all of the other rabbis. Okay. Yes, the Bat Kol Amra, a heavenly voice, comes down and says, Ketia Bar Shalom izuman l'chayei olam haba. Ketia Bar Shalom has been welcomed into Olam Haba. Bacha Rebbe ve'amar, and Rebbe cried and said, Yesh kone olamo b'sha'a achas. There are those who are able to merit Olam Haba in one act, in one moment. V'yesh kone olamo b'kama shanim. And for many people, it takes their whole lives. It takes many years. That is, those of us who work hard, those of us who are dedicated to living a good life, Baruch Hashem, it's very important, and doing mitzvot and studying Torah and all of these wonderful things. And at the same time, there are certain people who, with such incredible either martyrdom or demonstration of complete faith or complete tshuva or all sorts of things, can earn Olam Haba, poof, in one moment. A very, very powerful story. So Antoninus Shamshela Rebbe, Antoninus would take care of Rebbe, would be his waiter. Adrakan Shimshei L'Rav. And Adrakan, who was the king of Persia, would be the waiter for Rav. Kishachi Antoninus, when Antoninus died, Amarevi nit pareda chavila. When Antoninus died, Rebbe, as if gave a eulogy for him, he said, nit pareda chavila. The bundle has been untied. That is, we had such a close friendship, and now our friendship has been undone. Kishachi Adrakan, when Adrakan died, Amarav nit pareda chavila. When Adrakan died, Rav announced that the bundle has been undone, also that our close friendship has been undone, and that he mourned that loss. Let's just do a little bit more. We have a few more minutes. That one of my more famous favorite stories, the story of Onkelos. We know Onkelos is the one who translated the Torah into Aramaic. Onkelos Hager. Onkelos himself was a convert. So Onkelos bar Kalonimus Igayar. Onkelos, the son of Kalonimus, converted to Judaism. The name Kalonimus is also interesting. It means a good name, Shem Tov. There are many Ashkenazic rabbis coming from Italy and Greece in the early Middle Ages who had the name Kalonimus. There was a whole Kalonimus family. There's one of the Paitanim is Kalonimus ben Kalonimus. So very interesting. Kalonimus is just Shem Tov. So Onkelos bar Kalonimus could also just mean Onkelos who had a good reputation. He was a bar Kalonimus. He was a Baal Shem Tov. He had a good name. So it's an interesting point. Okay. Shadar Kesar Gunda de Romai Abatre. So the Roman emperor sent a legion of troops after him to chase after Onkelos because he had converted. Why would you be allowed to convert to Judaism? The Jews are this despised people in the Roman Empire, etc. Onkelos obviously is going to merit to be a great Torah scholar in his own right, even as a convert. So Hadar. So what happened? So the Roman emperor sent Gunda de Romaya Batrai Mashchinhu Bikrai. He enticed them with psukim. He quoted psukim from the Torah to them, and what happened? Igayur. They all converted. He was able to somehow convince all of these Roman soldiers that they should be Jewish. So Hadar Shara Gunda de Romaya Charina Batre, the Roman emperor sent another troop of soldiers after him. Amar lahu lo temrule velo midi. You're not allowed to talk with him. You're not allowed to. Don't let him speak to you. Ki havu shaklu va'azlu. So when they got there, Amar lahu emalahu milta ba'alma. Can I say just something, not Torah? I'll just talk. I'm just going to speak to you, just normal worldly matters. Niforia nakat nura kame apipropria. So the Niforia holds the torch for the appropriate, for a higher level minister, right? They're lower level officials and they're higher level officials in the Roman bureaucracy. So the Niforia holds the torch for the apipropria. Apiphoria leduchasa, and the apiphoria holds it for the duke, for the ducasa. Ducasa lehegemona, and the ducasa holds it for the governor. Hegemona lakoma, and the governor holds it for the ruler. So koma minakat nura mekame inashe. Does the ruler hold the torch for anyone? No, because he's the ruler. The people in charge don't have to do the busy work. So Amri Leila, they said that he doesn't do. So Amar Leila Kadosh Baruch Hu nakat nura kame Yisrael. But God holds the torch for the Jewish people. Dichtiv v'Hashem holech lifnehem yomam igayur kulhu. So God holds a torch for the Jewish people because God provided light for us in the desert. In the Amud Eish ve'Anan, God provided the cloud of fire for us, and they all converted because they were so impressed by the level of relationship between God and the Jewish people. That is, God as if humbles God's self in front of us to provide us with our needs. Actually, very powerful imagery to think about. If in this analogy, it sounds like God serves the Jewish people, but obviously we know that it's a testament for God's ability to provide, that God also cares for us. So it's this kind of complex dynamic here that he's pointing out. So Hadar Shadar Gudna Charina Batre. So then the emperor sent a third wave of troops to try to catch Onkelos. Amar Lahu. So he said, don't talk with him at all, not even mundane matters. When they got there, they saw the mezuzah on the door. And he put his hand on the mezuzah. That is, this is the origin, perhaps, of the minhag to touch the mezuzah when entering or leaving a room, to recognize that it's there, to see the mezuzah, to be reminded what it symbolizes. So he put his hand on the mezuzah and says, "My high, what's this? Amrle, Emilanat, you should tell us what it is." I'm like, we don't know what it is. We're Romans. Who knows what that is? So Amrlahu, minhago shalolam, the normal practice in the world. Melech basar v'adam yoshev b'fnim v'abadav mishamrim oto mibachutz. Normally, the king sits indoors and the servants are on guard duty outside. Ilu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, abadav mibifnim v'hu mishamrim mibachutz. God, we live in our houses and we put something at the doorway that's a symbol of the fact that God is outside protecting us. That is the mezuzah. Hashem yishmor tzeitecha v'uecha me'atav yad olam. God is the watchman protecting us. Igayur. So they all converted to Judaism now for the third time. So Tula Shadar Batre. He stopped sending any more soldiers to try to catch Onkelos. So obviously there are many other Gemaras about the prowess of Onkelos, the significance of the Targum Onkelos. Sadly, perhaps the practice in most Jewish communities has been discontinued to recite the Targum in the Torah reading as was originally practiced. but we still use the Targum regularly. It provides a very deep sense of understanding of the words of the Torah, sometimes using a different word, a subtle hint here and there. There's a lot of scholarship about how much was the Targum within the rabbinic project or not. That is, Onkelos was not a rabbi necessarily. How much was he aligned with the rabbinic mindset and rabbinic interpretation of the psukim, or he was more interested in a more literal interpretation of the psukim? One of the things that Targum Onkelos tries to ignore or avoid is anthropomorphism and anthropopathism on the part of God. So Targum Onkelos very often presents an interpretation, understanding of the psukim, which is a more abstract vision of God. Much more to be studied. Hope everyone has a wonderful day. Good morning.
Thank you.